if you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to be somebody that only offers solutions. Your own problems, other people's problems, you offer solutions. You find solutions to your own problems. You have a small business, you're going to have 20,000 problems. You need to fix them.
That was Nicolás Gabot, the founder of Brooklyn Art Factory. And this is Making It Here, a podcast by Epicenter NYC, where we spotlight the real stories behind entrepreneurs, artists, creators, and business leaders forging their own path. Every week, we dive into the hustle, the setbacks, the small wins that make the big picture possible. And every guest will have something to teach us, because making it here isn't easy. I'm your host, Amber Castillo. In New York City, turning a creative idea into a business takes more than talent. It often means juggling multiple roles: artist, vendor, marketer, and figuring out how to make a living while staying true to your vision. It's a balancing act that Nicolás has been navigating for years. He's the founder of Brooklyn Art Factory, known for handcrafted wooden signs inspired by subway station designs and customized with the names of New York neighborhoods. His work resonates with people who want to see their communities represented. Today, I sit down with Nicolás to learn more about the inspiration behind his work, how he rebuilt after losing everything in his New York City studio to flooding and theft, and what he's learned along the way. Our conversation is one about persistence, problem solving, and the often overlooked labor behind creative work. Let's jump in.
My name is Nicolás Gabot. I am the owner of Brooklyn Art Factory.
Why do you think in a place like New York, neighborhood identity specifically is so powerful?
I think people in New York, in general terms, are pretty proud to be a New Yorker. I'm an Argentinian, but I feel myself a New Yorker. I've been here for 15 years. People get memories of their childhood, the places where they grow. New York, I think it can create experiences that you cannot live anywhere else, so people feel very proud of it.
And you've said you signed every piece with the flair of Maradona. What's that all about?
So again, I'm Argentinian. People know Latin American culture. Argentinians were crazy for soccer. At the moment I started doing these pieces, I wanted to have like an artistic signature. I was looking for it. And I thought that signing like Diego Maradona was going to bring me success like he had. And hey, and I have it on my way. It works. It's magic.
Even though this was really born of your love for New York, that original concept, was it in San Francisco that you had that kind of idea?
Because this is a story where the first years in New York, it wasn't happening really well for me. I was trying, and it was everything was coming bad. I was living in a basement, and I was producing in a basement because I decided to leave the studio that I have. It was probably my worst, darkest time in the city. I had no money. It was hard to pay rent. The stuff that I was making at the time, it wasn't really cutting it. I was trying to discover myself into these things as well. I was crying because I was like, dude, what the hell am I doing? What's going on with my life? And what I am doing in the city, all the kind of questions that we all do when we're going through those moments. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try going to San Francisco for a while. And that's what I did. I subletted my space over here, and I tried San Francisco.
At that time, was there ever a thought that you would give up in terms of what you were doing?
Many thoughts of giving up with everything in my life. It was dark moments, The first years in New York, it wasn't happening really well for me. I was trying, and it was everything was coming bad. After everything being stolen from my studio, and then having to downsize, move my studio to my basement. That was my room at the time. That stuff was getting flooded often at the same time. Everything was bad. And I was making no money. I was running out of savings. Things were bad, dude. I was like, nothing was working. I was finding no solutions. And then I was like, I'm going to leave. I can't take it anymore. And I went to San Francisco. I stayed with 2 friends. Through that experience, I started having ideas on how to make designs. I had the idea of the neighborhoods before, but I didn't know how to make it real, how to make a nice sign, And it was like all the influences were coming together. And at the same time, it was making me think about how how lucky I was to have what I had in New York, but I wasn't putting enough effort onto it. San Francisco gave me that air. So I was having all of these like retrospective thoughts. And at the same time, I was very involved in activism. I loved Bernie Sanders at the time. I still love him. I was trying to do activism for him in San Francisco, which is a place which is at the moment was very energetic on that too. And when he lost against Hillary, it was a realization of like, nobody's coming to save us, man. You got to do your own thing. And, at that moment, I was like reading about design. So it was a whole thing of like, okay, I'm going to make this work. In the beginning, it's going to take a lot of work to make it happen, but I'm going to try one last time in New York.
You spoke about the time you spent kind of being out there for Bernie Sanders. I'm curious where this activism comes from and how much of it has to do with your father, who you mentioned.
Honestly, my father was a president of the socialist youth of his city in Avellaneda in Buenos Aires. The Argentinian has a very dark history between the 70s and the 80s, which is like we got like military governments, and he was followed. He got to escape the country for a little bit, but then he changed. Then he became a businessman, and he went a whole different way. But he always talked to me about politics. He will take me to to reunions of people talking politics when I was a kid. I will see them fighting and screaming and trying to solve the world in a coffee shop. I think that kind of shaped a lot of like my activism. Besides, I felt that I needed being an activist sometimes fulfills certain holes in your soul, like places where you feel empty. So you feel like if you join a community, if you try to push for someone that you believe it's going to be good for you and society, you fulfill.
What you described in terms of that scene with your father and all these folks like being so politically active, I'm wondering if there's a little bit of that essence of kind of the political gatherings and tertulias that you also see when you're in these community gathering spaces, representing the Brooklyn Art Factory.
Yeah. Honestly, all these gatherings, all like the street fairs, a lot of times are community events. So you get to see even politicians or people trying to like get signatures and stuff like that, and you do get the essence. You get it when you work all of the in different communities. The outreach sometimes it's through having a spot in the you're selling your art, and there's somebody right next to you working for Mandani, that's giving away pamphlets and trying to get signatures.
Yeah, so you're from Argentina. You moved to the US at 16.
I moved to the US at 16. That was in 2002. So I've been in the United States for 25 years already.
And you were
Yeah.
living in Miami, Coral Springs, so Miami area, which was really this explosion of street art, graffiti. How do you
Yes.
think being there at,
Wow.
at that specific time influenced your work and your style?
I think my whole work, it does reflect all of those like places like the siloed, abandoned places that has graffiti and they're broken down. And if you see on my designs, I always kind of like break down the signs. I make them look old. My initial image of New York, it's like this 80s city, more like a Gotham City, broken stuff. I'm trying to resemble that into the signs too, that kind of all New York, all New York feeling. And I think Miami and being in that scene, that probably deeply affected of how I perceive something to be cool. But to me, being run down, it's cool. And you can see that in my work. I'm pretty sure of it.
Is there something about either your experience in Florida or New York where there is that brokenness and that grittiness in your life experience that also helps inform some of this work?
I started working in the jewelry business. And a lot of the jewelry places that I used to go to sell the jewelry, pulgueros, like flea markets, there were rundown places with rundown people.
What does that mean to you?
It's these people are just living life and they're trying to make it, but sometimes goes to dark places in their own lives and their own humanities, make them make mistakes, make them be prideful, that are hustling too in these places.
Sticking with Miami and that metro area,
Yeah.
you had a revelation on a drive there you had with a buddy. If you could tell me about that.
I was doing film photography on that time. With a friend of mine, we went to this missile silo in the south side of Florida. to do some photography. We're getting into the silo. First thing we encountered was like what we think it was a gang initiation. We thought we were in big troubles. We happened to play it not tough, but like, just stand our ground, look at their eyes. They walked around us. They let us be. After that, we just continued our adventure into the silo, into the we got the rush, and it felt good. We got the adrenaline. We did the photo shoot. On our way back, we were driving in the afternoon. My friend had a like all those Wrangler Jeeps that with no roof, and we're driving by the beach, seeing the afternoon, the sunset. And my thoughts were like, "This is what I want to do for my life." I don't want to work for nobody else. At that moment, I had around 6 years working in the jewelry business total, even though I learned it a lot of like skills, selling skills, things that I use today. It wasn't where I wanted to be. It was a lot of stress. I had an incredibly busy life. At that moment, I felt like, no, I have to, in that drive, after all that adrenaline, that after all the adventure that we felt we were living, doing things that I like. I love taking photography. I love visual arts. And I was like, okay, I have to like try to make it happen one way or another, live out of my creativity, live out of whatever it's in my mind, live out of ideas. After that, it was months and I moved to New York.
That whole scene sounds like a dream.
It was a dream. It doesn't happen to me that much anymore, but when I just came to New York, I love to just walk on the subways with music on and feel life as a movie.
You have a dizzying list of jobs: paperboy, horse groom, kitchens,
Yeah.
car wash, sandwich maker, baker, jewelry business,
Repo guy.
repo guy, aerial photographer, and apart from, what you're doing at the Brooklyn Art Factory, from all these jobs, what would you say is the most transferable skill or lesson you took away?
Selling, dealing with people. You could be a nobody, know nothing, but if you're good with people, if you have human skills, you can communicate and you can sell something to somebody, understand that person, bring a customer, in a way, a customer service to that person. That requires empathy. You got somebody that comes to you, it's mad for whatever happens in their life, and they're taking it onto you. You got to be able to be like, how may I help you? What can I bring for you? What can I do for you? And this is a customer in custom right now. This is a customer service example. But at the same time, if you're bringing I bring this little product, some other people bring big products and big services, and it's the same thing. How may I help you? What do you need? Always calm, always try to leave your ego away. Somebody's getting mad at you. You don't need to reflect the same. You just need to absorb like a black hole. You just absorb it, you make it disappear, and you transform it in something good towards them. The other day, you make me a question of like, what is it to be an entrepreneur, or what's my interpretation? It's somebody that needs to find solutions for themselves and for other people. If you're an entrepreneur, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to be somebody that only offers solutions. Two problems: your own problems, other people's problems. You offer solutions. You find solutions to your own problems. You have a small business, you're going to have 20,000 problems. You need to fix them.
And you mentioned that you see a parallel between an immigrant and an entrepreneur in
100%.
path. Yeah.
When you're moving out of your place, the place where you were born, and you're choosing to go somewhere else, first of all, it has to be a big fire in your heart telling you got to leave your place. The economic downturn where I finished up here in the United States was in 2001 in Argentina. My father, he was an entrepreneur himself.
And he had a car dealership.
A motorcycle dealership, a car dealership. My father lost everything. Everything. Many people lost everything. My brother left to Spain. I left to the United States. My sister left to the south of Argentina. So for the family, it was a very hard time. Everyone split. It is what it is. It's what happened.
You started Brooklyn Art Factory as an online business, right?
I started Brooklyn Art Factory as an idea. I opened a Facebook page, and I got the website. I never put anything in the website till like 2018, but I just got the name because the name was in my head. Years later, I started using it.
And you were on Etsy as well, right? So the Facebook group, then Etsy.
I am on Etsy. I got to get a really good Etsy account till I had problems with the MTA. I didn't know. but I was losing some licensed material of them. And luckily, at the moment, it wasn't so AI and algorithm oriented. It was more humans behind. But they didn't took my store down because I'm still am. I was a star seller, and I got a couple. They you knew you're a good seller. You've been out there for a while, so they have some sort of like human consideration. But they sent me an email. It's like, listen, one more, and we have to take you down.
Yeah, but you adapted, right?
I changed the designs. I did something that made it legal, and I started again.
So that was your online platforms. You were also selling in the market, so in person. At what point did you start opening up your basement as a studio?
Probably 2018, I already started like offering people come to my basement. I it's
Was that because of the demand for it?
yes. So the people actually, they were trying to look for me somewhere in between the week. If I'm not in a market, you got to look for a place to. And I was like, come to my studio. I will take people in. People is crazy. They remember you from 3 years ago on a craft fair, and they love your stuff. And 3 years later, they come back to New York and they want something from you, and they got your info. And they're like, hey, I'm in the city for X amount of days. How can I pick up your stuff? It's like, hey, come by to my place. And I love that aspect. I love when they come to my basement, man.
Where do you think that understanding of your own value came from?
That built up with time. For a long time in my life, I was somebody that I would say yes to everything, try not to get into confrontations, kind of like people pleasing. That's people pleasing. It's good when you want to have a business, anyways, because it's part of the business. It's fulfilling people's necessities, or needs or whatever they want. So being a people pleaser, I think it can make a really good businessman when trying to empathize or understand on the people's needs. Maybe not so good because on the business side, sometimes you got to be a little rough on some other things, not with the customers, but dealing with the things that make the stuff happens, like buying materials and stuff like that, and employees. But it really helps you to understand what can you provide to people. Because at the end of the day, in many different parts of life, not only business, but in your personal life, it's about providing to other people. It's about sharing. Like the nature of the business that I have right now, I think it's very beautiful because it's about sharing, it's about providing, it's about finding something that people didn't had. Now they have someone that represents their neighborhood. You're from Mud Heaven in Bronx. Nobody represented you before. And you come and you get into my store and you're like, wow, like we talked about it before. You saw it. So it's that part of me of like being a people pleaser when I was more of a kid. So people point at that as a bad trait. And it's not a bad trait. If you know how to work it out, you can use it for you and for other people, and it's going to bring you joy. It's going to bring joy to others. And listen, if you're as lucky as I think I am, in order to make it into a business, you can live out of that joy bringing.
What would you say as a business owner you need right now?
I've been having this problem that I can't scale more. I'm looking for more scalability. Obviously, I think I could do much better online. I'm very physical. I'm still very physical. So doing markets for me felt very natural, but doing like stories on Instagram and stuff like that with my business doesn't feel that natural to me because that's the way you can expand and, online and get yourself known. I could do much better online, but it's at the scale. The scale to make it into an actual company that can keep that 5 employees all year round. Because then come Christmas time, I do the Christmas markets like the one in Union Square. That month and a half, you're incredibly busy. You're like asking your friends for help. It's like, who can help me out, please? Working till 2 o'clock in the morning because you never know exactly what you're going to sell. Like one year, Bay Ridge is super popular, but the next year you make 1 million Bay Ridges and nobody's buying it anymore. But they're all buying like, I don't know, Long Island City. And it's like, oh my God, it's no way to predict this. So you get an idea when you start the season, but you're going to have to work a lot anyways.
What does making it here mean to you? Like not just in New York City, but in life. What is it to make it here?
What is it to make it? Is to accomplish your dreams and understanding that sometimes your dreams need to adapt to reality. So if you can adapt your dreams, if you can adapt your dreams to reality in a useful way, that's making it.
And I'm just going to ask you a couple rapid fire questions. So the first thing that comes to mind, favorite subway line?
L train.
Dream collaboration?
JR, the French artist, social work mixed with arts, and the way the technique he uses it to express his art is very similar to what I use on the wood. So JR, yeah.
Most underrated New York City neighborhood vibe.
Flashing is amazing.
What time do you do your best work?
Night.
Most surprising feedback from a customer.
People crying. I had some people crying, remembering things from their family. That's like some crazy feedback. You can't pass that. You know.
Biggest misconception about running a creative business.
Biggest misconception, thinking that we don't work.
Best thing about AI.
You can use it you can use it as a tool. The worst thing about AI, we're about to see it, but there's so many bad things that are happening with AI. I mean, you can use it as an amazing tool, but we can destroy humanity at the same time. We're going to have a lot of losing jobs. It's already happening.
Someone gives you $10K right now. How do you use it?
It can be different ways, but I will invest in it probably.
Yeah. Is there anyone you wanted to shout out, like any artist or creator or other entrepreneur?
I want to shout out to John Conn. Guys, look for John Conn. He's a 73-year-old photographer, has a bunch of photos of New York in the 80s. Amazing work. And if you guys want to support me, www.brooklynartfactory.com. If you feel better using Etsy, Brooklyn Art Factory on Etsy. I'm on Instagram. And honestly, the best help that I could get from anyone, it's not only buying from me, but promoting me, like talking about my business, sharing it with other people. If you know somebody that's looking something for like the things that I'm doing, I'm looking on somebody out there that has an idea on how to scale this so we can make this bigger, share it to more people, bring it to more people, and help more people in the way by the way of creating jobs, creating events, community events. We can use the Brooklyn Art Factory for that as well. You know, I would like this to become something big that not only supports my dreams and my family, but can support other people's dreams and other people's family.
Thanks for listening. And if today's episode resonated with you, share it with a friend. We'd also love to hear from you. Leave us a review or reach out to us at hello@epicenter-nyc.com. That's all for today. Thanks for supporting us as we do our best to support our community. We couldn't do it without you. For more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at epicenter-nyc.com.